well, in this session, we would like to share together with Telenor some work we are doing that is very, very connected to what Hackfest participants have been experimenting since the previous Hackfest, which is orchestrating an evolved packet core end-to-end and trying to automate all of the operations involved. And we're trying to take this to a next level together with Telenor. And maybe, Paul, you can start sharing your view.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Gianpietro. And hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you. So I will be just talking a bit about the motivation behind the POC from a Telenor perspective before I leave the floor back to Gianpietro. So this is basically a slide on motivation. I will not talk about the details that you see here because Gianpietro will take that. But I mean, a first motivation for us is, of course, to use OSM in order to automate operations of mobile networks and to orchestrate the mobile core, the EPC here in this case. And particularly, it's interesting to do that orchestration and automation in a hybrid network, including VNFs, PNFs, and also KNFs, which definitely is the reality today. When moving from PNFs, and most of it is VNFs today, but still there are PNFs like routers, firewalls, and more we see the KNFs coming with 5G, but also in IT and also in digital type of services. So that's really motivating. Secondly, it's also motivating to deploy an open source EPC and test it. In this case, it's the Magma EPC from Facebook. And some of the reasons for that is that it really provides a lot of flexibility. And one note to make here is that all EPC deployments are no longer only for millions of customers. But more and more, we see that there are deployments for enterprises, like small, medium-sized, and large, and also for verticals. Like, I mean, there are a number of them, but like smart ports and factories and so forth, hospitals, right? And then in those cases, an open source EPC can be really beneficial because of the flexibility and also potentially the speed and cost efficiency it brings. So actually making it possible for many enterprises and customers really not doing it before. That is a bit of the motivation. And then, yeah, I talked a bit about the hybrid network, right? The importance of that. And Gianpietro will talk about what we actually do here in the POC. And I guess for those that follow the Hackfest, you have seen it. But the next steps that we are seeing now is first to really connect it to a real radio network as a next step, and then also implement one or two strategic 5G use cases with focus on enterprises, be it private networks. And the third point, which is also important, is on closed loop automation with service assurance. And that's also especially important when we move into smaller deployments because we will not be able to operate all those without having some automation, and service assurance is a key part of it. And that's also an important development going on in OSM, as you might have seen. So I think that's a bit on the motivation, and then I will hand it back to you, Gianpietro, to continue presenting the POC.
Thanks, Paul, for sharing the motivation of Telenor. Definitely, it encourages us to take this to a next level, and that's what I'm going to share now is just our plans on this POC. We share this with the community in advance because we are starting this as an official OSM POC. So some details here to follow. First of all, as you know, well, as some of you know from the previous Hackfest, we announced from Whitestack that we were starting to work more closely with Facebook connectivity to provide an official distribution of Magma, because, well, in Whitestack we have a lot of presence in Latin America, and we see a lot of needs to cover rural areas, and Magma with the approach of distributing the packet core definitely gives us the opportunity to help operators and small operators, especially, reach these unattended regions. So for us in Whitestack, it's very motivating to take Magma to a next level, and this also makes sense to be done with Telenor, because Telenor's footprint is very large, covers a lot of regions that have similar characteristics. So they would, of course, benefit from such a deployment. The goal, I mean, in general, from our point of view, is to make these packet core deployments distributed and completely automated. So that's the goal that we are looking at, not only for greenfields, but also for integrating to existing cores, because there is also a component for that. Of course, we would be doing this commercially speaking, I mean, in production environments with our distribution. Many of you already know that at Whitestack we have a distribution called WhiteNFV, and it's already on its 4th official release, which is called Denver, based on release 8. And well, we have been validating this release in Etsy plug test for a couple of years. So this is what we are using at Telenor's network for the POC. And well, the new thing is that we are launching a new product based on Facebook's Magma and backed by Facebook connectivity to be able to deploy this in production. And it needs to have more to be built more carefully, to be performant, and to be supported like a carrier would need to be supported. So our first release is called Azufral. It's named after volcanoes. It comes more or less from the name of the project. And this is a volcano in Colombia. And this is again the software that we will be using the POC in the next phase of it. We are starting to add some things to the upstream code. It's not that we won't upstream these things, it's just that the current Facebook's roadmap for Magma is not including the some characteristics that we see we need until next year. So for example, the fact that we are virtualizing the access gateway, that's not a thing that you will see in the documentation of Magma. That's a thing that we are proposing from Whitestack. Then the fact that we have an on-premise orchestrator in a Kubernetes cluster, that's also a thing that we're proposing to have, because the current Facebook's roadmap, they support only implementations made on AWS for now. But of course, they see the need for having a private installation. So it's also in the roadmap, and we hope we can contribute the work that we are already doing there. So at the end, we are adding a new stack of open source software. We have been for years promoting the use of OpenStack, Kubernetes, open source Mano through these infrastructure level stacks. We also are providers of open infrastructure in the hardware space. But now we are starting to see some traction and some interesting projects like Magma in the functional side. So that's why we are adding this to what we support and we build as a product. So in the phase one, which is already done, I mean, we're in the middle of it, maybe just Telenor is experimenting a little bit more with it, but it's pretty much done. It's just more or less a replica of what we have done in the OSM Hackfests, which was the starting point that we wanted to reach first. So they have this same thing, Magma deployed in a virtual machine, a couple of virtual machines because we're adding testing tools, and the CNF. And also PNF, which is emulated as well here. So it's pretty much the same scenario. And the idea would be to start changing this. For example, this PNF would become a real, this emulated PNF would become a real physical router or firewall. We are checking that with Telenor. And this will, in the next phase, become our official release of the orchestrator, which runs on top of Kubernetes, and official release of the Magma Access Gateway. Well, they have a WhiteCloud installation, which is our Beam. It's a vanilla distribution of OpenStack, where they have, as many of you have seen in Hackfest, an emulated PNF and a White Mist, which is our distribution of Kubernetes, just a vanilla Kubernetes cluster. They have a virtual machine for that, the White NFV OSM instance without HA for now, trying to keep it simple in the first stage, and a deployer machine. And we have reached the same stage that many people, I hope all of the participants of Hackfest will reach this week, which is fast traffic from the emulator towards internet through the access gateway and the PNF. So the first slides will show, well, the registration of the inode B and the access gateway automatically, and then we'll be able to see statistics. Well, so we already went through this with Telenor, and we launched a second slide, which is just the access gateway part is not instantiating the orchestrator again. So Hackfest participants will have a chance to play with network slicing tomorrow. But with Telenor, we already covered this, and we are looking for the next steps, which is taking this to a scenario that is closer to the interests of Telenor. But with this first stage, we wanted to show in the Telenor's network that the end-to-end automated mobile network deployment is possible, that NFV Mano is key, has a key role in automating the end-to-end network services, and considering any kind of network function, containerized, VM-based, or physical. And we also wanted to demonstrate that the value of open source is extending now from infrastructure to network functions as well. I mean, for production deployments. So next steps we are planning, and that we are going to share as part of this POC, because the results will be public, as we are sharing this as an official OSM POC soon, is well, to install our supported distributions of White NFV, this is OSM, and of Magma, and then connect this to real radio devices from Telenor Labs, and implement the closed loop automation that Telenor is interested in seeing. So we would make the access gateway maybe automatically scale, automatically heal, and of course you would share the results with the community and probably implement things like that in future Hackfests. And finally, we're talking about doing a field trial as well, eventually with some extended base, so to explore more use cases towards 5G. Facebook connectivity will support us directly in this POC. They just confirmed today that they are interested in joining, and explore, discuss the roadmap of their software, well, as main contributors of it, based on Telenor's interests as well.